Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today, and welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter and are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, folks, so today's upload, I've got some subscriber submitted experiences. One that I've been looking forward to narrating for you since the gentleman and I connected on a live stream, and he had to go through some surgery before he could settle down and type it out. He finally did for me, and quite the amazing experience all the way over in South Africa. I'd also going to share some very interesting information. I just picked up a couple of new books a couple of weeks ago and just really read right through all three. And all of them just really back a lot of what my theories are involving not just Dogman, but deep underground military bases, these Nephilim-like creatures people are seeing, these other strange type creatures that people don't recognize. And then when we hear their experiences, a lot of people are just like, that's totally made up. Or why we don't have good video or photographic evidence. So let's get into today's first subscriber submitted experience. You may know him in the comment section or in the live stream section as Gringo. All right, so the first experience I'm going to share with you all is we are jumping from the United States all the way to South Africa. Gringo Lismore, he is and has been a subscriber for a little bit now, and he is at every live stream. Just a really nice guy. He had surgery a couple months ago and said he was going to send this to me, and did. And then I read through it and I was like, wow, this is pretty incredible experience. I've had a couple different Dogman encounters out of South Africa. Now, being that we're jumping across the ocean into a whole different country, United States Special Forces, Rangers, SEALs, Green Beret, and a couple of others. There's the Air Force. I forget their exact terminology, but the Air Force has their own special forces. But in South Africa, there is a special force division called the 5 Special Force Regiment, and that is a South African special force unit that specializes in overland operation, including long-range infiltration, intelligence gathering, and airborne operations. The regiment is based in Limpopo province of South Africa. It was established in 1976 in Durban. Former names were 5 Reconnaissance Commando and 451 Parachute Battalion. Now, to me, after looking into a little bit of this, it sounds like this special force unit took a lot of our individualized special forces that we have in America and compiled them all into one. Once again, there is not as many people in South Africa to have different divisions of naval Green Beret, which would be like this state's long-range infiltration and intelligence gathering. So it's quite the achievement if you are selected to be in this regiment. So, Jeff, hope and believe you are doing well. First off, I do not mind if you use my real name, which is Gringo Lismore. This happened 34 years ago, so it has been part of who I am. I grew up in a town called White River, South Africa, Lovelid. I've lived there my entire life. Since I was a child and I got scared, there was a big black wolf standing next to my bed with a dark, tall man standing next to it. And they were always together, just standing and looking over me. This went on until I was about 13, and it always felt that it protected me. And every time there was danger, I always felt protected. Well, I finished school, and directly after that, I did my national service for my country. I was drafted into the Air Force when I was 16 years old, and at the age of 18, went to Hell Camp Regiment. From there, I got selected to join the 5 Special Forces Regiment of the Northeast. I made all my classes and became an operator. I did a solo recon mission exercise in the Drakensberg Mountains, where the air and ground radar stations were. Orders were to escape and evade the recon base. I was dropped within 10 miles and had to move in northwestern way up the mountain to the height of about 2,000 meters to the base. There's a gravel road leading to a Golf 9 gate when you entered the base, but I had to move up over rocks and a dense forest. I went in with a full kit R5 5.56 millimeter rifle with an extra 30-round mag in my backpack, 4 extra 30-round mag in my backpack, with a 9mm CZ and 4 mags. The whole recon had to be done in 4 days. Had to move away from the road undetected, in and through plantations. I entered the woods, if memory serves well, at about 1,000 hours. I moved into the woods about 400 yards and then went northwest towards Golf 9. I arrived just when the sun went down and was in a position at about 100 yards from the main boom gate at Golf 9, where I had to drew it up on a map and take photos, but first I had to recon the guards and see what their routine was. Guard rotation was at 1,800 hours, and from where I was situated, left off the guardhouse 100 yards looking down on them from the woods, it was about a 30-degree angle above them. I slowly took my pack off and sat behind a rock with night vision goggles on. Looking down, I heard dogs barking, and I reckoned it was the Burke's Luck Dog unit, but you had to walk right from the gate 100 yards down, take a left, and walk another 100 yards to where the dog kennels were. At around 2200, the guard took his rifle and went to the kennels to see what the fuss was about, or so I thought. That was the time and only time I could take the photos on the inside of the guard station. When I was done, I hauled ass out of there to where my pack was. I heard the dogs that were quiet, and the guard came back from the kennels. It was time for me to move on ahead to the top where the radar station was, another 20-mile track. I went on for another 2 miles, where I could eat, drink some water, and rest for a couple of hours. The night or early morning hours, I felt something was off. It's your sixth sense that kicks in, and it is dead quiet. I was waiting at dusk to break, and starting to move again, I gradually made it down to where the concrete road leads up to the radar stations. had to cross over the road, and I went into the rainforest, moving up and on the northeast heading. It was still dusk, but you could see with the red torchlight. I went on for another 500 yards and found a waterfall about 20 feet high. Filled up my water bottles, washed my face, and as I was looking up, I saw something behind a tree, but it was only a split second. There were rumors of black leopards roaming in the surrounding woods, and then I thought that feeling I got was because of a leopard, but boy, was I sadly mistaken. I was more alert than ever because I didn't have time to play around with a black leopard. I began walking around the waterfall and had to climb where it wasn't so steep to get to the top. When I finally made the climb, I wanted to look for tracks just to ease my mind for what I saw that split second. I moved to where I could see the tree in perspective to where I was at the bottom of the waterfall. All I could see was scratch marks about 6 feet in the air on the tree's bark. At the bottom of the ground, I saw a set of prints as big as my hand with 3 toes on each print, and then I knew that this was no leopard track. I just went on one knee and started planning my next move, and I prayed to the Lord to be with me. And now, it's not just a mission, but now something. Another is stalking me and tracking me through this rainforest. So I decided to make a stand in the forest and would then go to the air radar station, but first I had to deal with the threat at hand. I had to fit the suppressor on my rifle. I could not give my position away, otherwise the mission would be a failure. I then looked to pick him off the trail of the thing that I was hunting now, so I had to double back down to the waterfall. By now, it was 1000 hours, but in the rainforest, the sunlight did not protrude through the canopy. I then found tracks, quadruped as well as biped. The track was something I was familiar with when I was hunting hyena, but this was much larger. The impressions it made on the moist ground was heavier than that of a hyena. I reckoned somewhere about 140 kilograms and about 6 feet because of the night the scratches were on the tree. I could feel it in my bones that this thing was near. I can feel eyes on me, so I found a large rock to dig in and wait. Hours went by and not a sound. At one stage, I could hear a gaddy going off. G up at the Gulf 10, where the radar station was, and after an hour heading down to the base. I waited until the sun to set to make my move. I will have to kill it, take photos, then I'll go on to the task at hand because with that thing on my ass, it would be a disaster. At 1800 hours, it was now dark in the forest. I fitted my night sights, and I had some biltong, dried meat, and water when I heard a laugh and a growl, and I knew it was on the hunt. And I wondered what the F a hyena was going to do on a mountain 2,000 meters above sea level. But soon I would find that this was another type of predator. Suddenly, my thoughts were interrupted by a noise right behind the rock I was dug into. I went to stage 5. And one up and went around the rock very carefully and quiet. Then I saw it for the first time as it moved around the rock on the opposite side from me. I was on its rear. Just as the head went around the border, I shot a double tap. In its stomach and hind legs, it gave out a deep growl, and now it was moving around the rock face. I was standing upright, and this hyena-like bipedal beast with red eyes was growling and laughing, so I shot another double tap through the head and emptied my mag into its chest and neck. It fell over on its back, dead as a doornail. But, believe you and me, that thing smelt like death warmed up. I took out my stiletto dagger and cut its throat for good measure. I then took pictures of the thing from top to bottom. Huge head like that of a hyena and black chest at the back. There was a black mane running from its neck down to its spine. On its back it had goldish spots along the sides of its back. It had a tail, but only roughly 2 feet long. Its legs were that of a hyena, thicker. The arms were long and athletic, like a ripped chest of an athletic type. Front paws were huge, twice the size of my hands. It had long fangs, sharp teeth, and you could tell it had strong jaws. Well, after I took the photos, I covered it with branches and pine and marked the heading on the map. Long story short, I completed the training mission and was on time to the radio rendezvous point. When I arrived at base at the regiment, I gave into the map and the photos. The sergeant major called me in and had all of the photos of the hyena thing neatly arranged on the table. He proceeded to ask if I knew what I had killed, and I told him it was a hyena on steroids. He proceeded to tell me that it was a were hyena in Africa is infested with them, killing off villages full of natives. He said that locals believe it's Sangomas, tribal witches, that through magical powers change men into hyenas. But he said, now that you encountered and killed one, I have good news. Corporal, you are going to lead a mission with 5 other operators to go to the Somalia border, where the Cubans smuggled guns to Mozambique and Malawi down the northeastern part south to the border. Your debriefing and orders will be here within a week, so get some R&R. I really faced a lot of these were hyenas in my days as an operator, and I only told my dad, who had just recently passed. I am now 52 years old, and sharing this with you, Jeff, and the rest of the Dogman fam. P.S. The Sangomas in Limpopo warn all to stay away from Mahalo and the Bide Over Canyon, cause they send these were hyenas to kill anyone who would trespass. And you know it's public land and resorts. This was on the news in January. Thank you for all of your hard work, and God bless. Now, I did look into what he was saying about the Mohalo Hollow, I hope I'm saying that right, and Blade Canyon. And there was quite a few strange things. There was a South African levels accusations of genocidal conduct. And back in July, there was a man attacked by a leopard on a South African Air Force base. So who really knows what's going on over there? I think it's really interesting that we have a subscriber from South Africa to share some of the Dogman and or cryptid experiences that go on elsewhere. I've always kind of loved to hear different encounters from different countries, because we all, in America, we hear them, in different states, but they are worldwide, and we know this. So it's just very interesting. All right, let's get into some other things. Today's second subscriber submitted experience. Hello, my name is in your comment section, The Way, the Truth, The Life 37. I finally figured out where your email could be found after re-listening to the beginning of your Smoky Mountain episode you put out. I have an experience to tell you, and I'm honestly freaked out, and I just need to know if I'm crazy or not. I'm a little embarrassed by all of this. I've only told a few people because I know I will be ridiculed and people will think I'm crazy. I'm going to just copy and paste a journal I have made on my phone and add some more details later when I can sit down and think better. I have more to tell you than what I send through here. I had this really weird experience recently that I cannot explain. I don't generally believe in cryptids, and if I did, I'd probably be ridiculed and judged. I live in the countryside of eastern Tennessee, and this happened the night of August 17th, on a full moon or close to it. My wife came and woke me up at around 3:30 saying a coyote had gotten one of our dogs. I was dead asleep, and it was a terrible way to be woken up. I was angry because I know how coyotes get their prey, and I've always worried this would happen to one of our dogs. I angrily asked her why she let them out at the time she did, and she said that the dogs woke her up needing to go out. Our dogs never do that. But she let them out and came back in for a minute. When she opened the door, only one dog came and she heard our other dog start to yelp. She said it was 4 to 5 yelps and she could tell by the sound something had her. Our larger dog went out to investigate the yelps, but never even barked and just came back inside, which I find super weird as well. She said she panicked because she didn't have her shoes or light and she was scared. That's when she came and woke me up. I was full of emotions. I was scared for our dog. I was sad because we've had her for a while and she was a family member. I was also extremely angry and decided I was not going to let them have her body. I grabbed my Glock with a very bright mounted flashlight and threw on my sandals. When I got outside, I started calling her name over and over again. I heard nothing in return. I can't 100% remember, but I think it was totally silent outside, and I thought she had passed already. I asked my wife where the yelps had come from, and she said down the hill, so I walked that way, continuing to call while my wife was on the porch. When I got to the edge of the woods, I was still calling her, and I was feeling a terrible sadness. Then I heard a noise that come back to me. I had never heard a sound like this in my life, and honestly cannot reproduce it. Sorry about the pause. The channel's mascot, my Maine Coon cat, likes to bite my legs when I ignore him. I heard a sound like this I've never heard a sound like this in my life, and I cannot reproduce it. Neither can my wife. But I called again, and it answered again. I did this 4 times with a reply each time, and on the 4th it clicked in my head. That is my dog letting me know where she is while they've got her. I busted into the woods like a maniac, feeling like every sound counted before they got her and carried her away too far to be found. Even though it was a full moon, it was pitch black under the tree canopy, and I could literally only see what was in my flashlight beam. I would run 15 yards, do a scan with my light, then go another 15. I never heard another reply or any other sound until I had made it far into the woods. Then I heard my wife yell to me. I couldn't understand her because I had gone too far, so I made my way back to her. I heard her yell again that our dog had come back to the front porch. I was so confused because the dog returned from a totally different direction than the woods I was in. I realized it could not have been her replying to my call, and I wondered what I was in the woods with at that moment. I got a little scared, but I stayed calm and walked my way out while keeping an eye out around me with my light. When I got back to the porch, I could tell our dog was in really bad shape. She was breathing badly, had lacerations all over her neck and teeth marks on her head. When she came inside, she went into her kennel and just stood there staring at the back of it. We tried to clean the wounds and she cried in pain. I knew it was serious, and we've had this dog longer than our children have been alive, so I told my wife we needed to go to the emergency vet. My wife took her to the vet, and the dog was still in shock when they checked her out, so they couldn't put her under to patch her up until she calmed down. She almost didn't make it, but $5,000 later, and coming up on a month, I can see her getting better. We never let them out past 10 now, and even then we stand outside with flashlights. I have thought a lot about that night and cannot really understand it, nor can my wife explain it. Our dog was gone for a total of 10 to 15 minutes, and I am thankful she was with us still, but I am not sure why it let her go. All I can figure is the second dog spooked it, or I did with the light yelling for her. The next night, it was a little after midnight, I was sitting on the couch when the second dog I spoke of earlier started pacing at the front door and growling. She then started barking. I scolded her before she woke up the family, and then turned on the security camera feed. On one particular camera, there was occasional sounds that sounded just like my daughter's toy banjo. That toy banjo was on the kitchen counter 10 feet from me, though. The day of the attack, my kids and I had made a song and sang it to my wife for a surprise. My daughter had played the instrument on the exact spot the camera was picking up the music. I was totally creeped out, and I checked the other feed. The one that covers the front door was picking up a sound like someone moving through the thick hedge bush that borders the right deck. I normally would have gone out with the gun, but for some reason I was totally freaked out and stayed and watched the camera feed. I took recordings of the music sounds. Anyway, I feel silly writing this all out, writing this all out and for letting it spook me, but this house has a lot of weird things happen in it and around since we've moved here to escape the overcrowding of our old Tennessee town. I don't know what to think, but I've been wondering lately if something is trying to lure my wife out to look for our dog, and it's good that she was scared. I told our kids never to go into the woods without me, and they are not allowed out there after dark without an adult. I have a couple of suspicious areas I think something may be in. One is a cave that I have not explored because it has a straight drop down after a short way in, and it has water running into it, so I don't feel like it is safe to explore. The other is actually under my house in an area under my porch where the area of the foundation is missing. That area leads under our garage floor as best as I can tell. I've also not checked that area because I'm not a fan of black widows. Last thing I'll add is, in those woods is a rock mound of about 25 feet long and 3/4 of a foot wide. I've always thought it was weird because the stones are about the size of cantaloupes. So either it was a lot of work to move them into the woods, or the woods grew up around them. Like I said, there is more I could add, but I know I've already written a book. I'm sorry if it's long. I've just got a bad feeling, and it is bothering me. Additional details. I wanted to drop you another quick message. One of the first things I can remember happening after we moved 2 years ago was about the time of year. We had not lived here long. Once again, something else weird happened, and I'll explain after. I wanted to drop another quick message. One of the first things I can remember happening after moving here 2 years ago, about the same time of year. We had not lived here long, and I was walking back from taking the trash down to the cul-de-sac. We live on about a half a mile private lane that we share with one other house. I was walking back from taking the can down that half-mile lane, and I was almost home when I started to hear something paralleling me in the woods. The leaves were on the ground, so it may have been a little later in the fall, but it made stalking easy to hear. I say stalking because that's what I felt like was happening. I was walking the last 200 yards. This thing was walking with me. I stopped. It would stop. I start again. It would start. I tried looking through the trees, but it is pretty thick. I called out and got no response. So I decided to be sneaky. I crouched down and got really quiet to see if it would move on so I could get the jump on whatever it was. At first, I thought it was a coyote, but I knew a coyote wouldn't do the stop-start pattern like it did multiple times. So then I thought maybe a neighbor being nosy or trying to scare me. I waited there, crouched down for like 20 minutes. I actually got bored and started surfing my phone because I was listening for movement and couldn't see anything. It began to get darker, and I felt like I should get back to the house. I turned on my phone light and started walking, and it started paralleling me again. That is when I got freaked out and said, "I know you're out there. I can hear you following me." Still, no reply. I picked up my pace and finished the last 200 yards. I was angry at this point, and I grabbed a really bright flashlight and walked back out there. I never saw anything from that lane and did not hear any other noise. I told my wife. I'm not sure if she really believed me, but she said it was probably a dog. My wife is very analytical, and does not believe in things she cannot see or experience herself. The caveat to that is her faith in God. We are both Christians. That's one thing I like about you, is that you relate these cryptids to the Bible. I've always felt guilty as being a Christian believing in anything like this, but your videos about the subjects and how they are related make a lot of sense to me. It puts me at ease being able to believe and not feel like a heretic. Your one that you put out today was excellent. I think you're on to something. I'm convinced our history has been drastically changed. The most of what we believe to be real is an illusion. I also feel like the illusion is beginning to fail and people are waking up, whether that's on purpose, for evil reasons, or out of their control. Who knows? I also agree that encounters seem to be on an uptick based off your comment section. I feel like there is a relation to the end of times and the devil's time is being short. Like there is a fourth quarter and the devil is getting all out now. Evil seems to be manifesting everywhere, both in the open and apparently in the dark as well. Anyway, that's my encounter as far as here. We started having terrible smells of wet dog, dead animals, sometimes dead fish, and rotten smelling garlic. It was every single morning right before dawn and right after dark on our front porch for a long time initially. My wife didn't believe me on that either, but I was able to show her many times because it was so consistent. So, I wanted to comment on this. There is an experience that I had, and I believe it is in Tennessee. A gentleman, ironically enough, moved his family out of the city into a quiet little road in Tennessee and near the Lake Pickwick region. He started to hear really strange noises. It started on his driveway once at night, and he thought he had seen something across the street. I think it was growling that he heard initially. He got up to his porch and turned around. There was nothing out there. Then he's got a couple small kids, this gentleman, and these kids started to hear something mimicking a puppy crying, or his wife would hear a baby crying out in the woods. So something was trying to draw the children into the woods with the puppy cry, the wife with a baby cry. And the husband would be like, listen, look where we live. Why, logically, would there be a baby in the middle of the woods right now? Or a puppy, or a bunch of puppies? He had this section of woods, and then he had this like kind of hilled out area where he had a little shooting range that he had set up. And he was down there one day and he felt like something was watching him. Then he saw something that resembled a Dogman across the street again. And for some reason, they called it the squealer, because it made this squeal noise, this really strange kind of noise. And the thing that caught me with this person's experience, our subscriber here, and the experience that I shared about a year ago, was how he feels like whatever is in those woods is trying to lure his wife. And then from that experience, it's not just your wife you should be worried about, it's your children. Have a talk with your kids. Let them know, hey, you don't have to say anything about a Dogman or a Bigfoot to your kids. Just be like, hey, there are some, really scary stuff in the woods. Let's try to stay out of them. If you want to go hiking, we'll go hiking at this location, or, but the back of our woods, there's, a coyote, a bobcat, something, make it a little bit so they're leery of that part of the yard until you are comfortable with it. So let's move on. So what I wanted to say was I had stopped 2 times during that experience, which was quite a weird and disturbing experience. Tigger, the channel's mascot, my Maine Coon cat, usually when he hears me narrating or doing something, he'll come out and, just investigate. But he's had now the tendency of biting me in my leg because I won't pay attention to him because I'm looking at the camera. So he did that just moments after. And then he's an older cat. He's still young, but he's still older and he knows not to scratch on things. He's got plenty of scratch pads and stuff like that. Well, I hear him in the living room scratching on the chair. And then I'm reading this. It is absolutely crazy. All right, so I kind of want to share this with you guys because it's kind of freaky. I'm down here. The Tennessee experience is when Tig started acting like a weirdo. And then I heard my daughter in the kitchen grabbing like something to eat. I can hear her when she's in the kitchen because I can hear her open the fridge. I'm sitting in here in the studio downstairs. Now, just past, there's a doorway this way, a doorway right there. That goes upstairs. That goes into the second living room downstairs. The building that I live in used to be an old dentist office. So downstairs is still partially like commercial, but I'm turning it residential slowly. I could hear what sounded like running upstairs. But I text my daughter, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm watching Zach Baggins." And she took a picture of herself sitting in her room watching the TV. And I'm like, "Did you just run from the bathroom or something?" And she's like, "No." But when I heard that running and it sounded like a full-grown human being, I could hear some clicking off to the side over toward the door that goes to the second part of the house here. The house also, if you've been with the channel a while, I have taken my ghost hunting equipment, which I have an SLS camera, I have EMF reader, I have an EVP recorder, I have a lot of equipment, a REM pod, a lot of equipment. I've taken it to the Conjuring House. I'm going to go up to a mansion in Whitehall pretty soon here, courtesy of Mr. Shackleneck, a resident of Illinois, but he had gone up there and checked it out. Anyway, just a lot of weird stuff. But my house used to be part of the Underground Railroad, the older part of the house. It's built in like 1829, maybe even older. And it was a small brick kind of home. And then the addition was built in the 60s. I know a little boy had died upstairs because it's been, the building was a dentist office for like 50 years. And my old landlord, when he passed away, is when I took over the house or building. Now it's the whole, now it's my house. It's the whole house is mine now. I started to learn about the history, and there was a dentist prior to my old landlord, and he had a child who had autism, but it was severe autism, and he passed away in a little room, ironically enough, my studio upstairs. So a lot of weird stuff, all during reading that experience. I just had to share that with you guys. I know you're probably like, dude, you're lame, but I have captured stuff here with my paranormal research equipment. So anyway, if you've been with the live streams, you know, and if you've been with the channel, you know that I'm not just a Dogman channel. I'm a paranormal and cryptid researcher. I love to research. I'm not a narrator. I'm not a storyteller. So, but I do have a very interesting experience. And one of the favorites of the live stream would be the BEK experience, Black-Eyed Kids. So, subscriber. Jeff, new member to the channel. I really enjoy your content. I thought I would share my encounter with a black-eyed kid with you. I don't remember what month or day this happened, but it was 2012. I was going to the Art Institute of Colorado in Denver. I was in the Culinary Arts program through the Culinary Institute of America, or the CIA, LOL. My goal was to be a chef. At the time, I was living in the dorms of the Art Institute, located in blank. My room was 519, fifth floor of the building where this encounter occurred. I'm not sure what time it was, surely after midnight, maybe 2, 3 in the morning. I was lying in bed trying to sleep when I heard a knock on my window a few feet from my bed. All of a sudden, I felt very strange, like everything was happening in slow motion, or my thoughts were bogged down in thick mud. I was in a trance of some sort. I heard the knock on the window again, and got out of bed, walked over to the window. The window had normal Venetian blinds. I pulled the cord to open the blinds. I kept my window, which slid open and closed left to right, open a couple of inches, only the width of my hand at all times for fresh air. When I got the blinds open, there, outside of the window, right outside of the open part, was a face of a boy, about 10 or 11. The boy's hair was light brown and the skin was very pale, kind of shiny. What struck me the most was his black eyes. When I saw his eyes, even through the trance, I got a very foreboding feeling. All of a sudden, it says, "Are you ready?" I did not reply out loud, but inside I said, "Ready for what?" Then it said, "Let me in." As soon as it said that, the foreboding feeling intensified to an almost crippling sense of evil. I, once again, to myself, thought, "Nope, you're evil." I didn't say a word aloud. I closed the window, closed the blinds, and still feeling the lingering effects of the trance, went and lied back down on my bed. Next thing I know, it's the morning. I thought it might have been a dream, but I checked the window and it was closed. Like I said, I never closed the window. I like it open. I did not have a roommate because I was a 32-year-old veteran who did not want to live with some kid. So I paid a few $100 extra a month for my own room. I don't know what this little boy was, but he was not human. Remember, I was on the 5th floor. No ladders, balconies, or fire escapes, just flat stucco. This thing was climbing to the side of a building and peeking in the side of my window like Spider-Man. I often wonder when I think about it if anyone else has had a similar experience in that building. The building is no longer a dorm for the Art Institute. The Art Institute has shut down a few years later. They lost their academic accreditation for pulling shenanigans with people's student loans and tuition payments. The building appears to have undergone a remodeling, and it's now apartments, from what I can see on Google Maps Street View. Anyway, that's my encounter. Maybe not exciting or extensive, but 100% true, and I'll never forget it. And I will always wonder, but be thankful for now. What would have happened if I had let the kid in? CH. Wow. That's what I was thinking when when he said it was. Can you imagine? You get out of bed, you hear some knocking. You know, you're not really thinking, "Hey, I'm on the 5th floor." You're just like, "Who's knocking at my window?" Right? And you open. And there's the windows open that much, and there's this little freaky kid with black eyes right there. No, thank you. Yeah. Are you ready? He says to you. That is terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying. I am petrified of black-eyed kids. I really do not want to ever see one or encounter one. All right. You can share this with anyone if you'd like. My encounter happened February of 2024 on the far southeastern side of Indianapolis. I lived in Indianapolis on the very south side of Indianapolis, but barely. I have 3 acres surrounding by cornfields on 3 sides. The cornfield behind my home is thousands of acres. I took the trash outside at around 7 p.m. It was very dark outside. In the garage, I would just feel something was off. I walked out to the trash can about 15 feet from the open garage. Throw the trash in the outdoor trash can. I felt like I was being watched. I just felt I had to look into the cornfield. I looked at the little hill about 40 yards away, and I saw 3 very large dogs. The dogs looked to be the size of horses. 2 of these dogmen were gray, and 1 was black. All 3 of them were on all fours the whole time I had seen them. The black one had very yellow eyes, and I could barely see its outline. The black one looked right and then walked away. I did not feel threatened at all. A few weeks later, I told my best friend, but we treat each other more like sisters. I was picking up my niece from preschool when my sister got off work. She picked up her daughter. She didn't get to my house until after dark. My niece said she sees a wolf. My sister finishes buckling her up. My sister asked where, and she said in the same field I had seen the 3 prior. My sister is freaking out and told me when she got home no possible way my niece heard my encounter. My niece was not scared either. All right, so before we jump into the books and the things that I wanted to share about that, there was a subscriber in the live stream. If you're listening, and you know who exactly you are, Delaware Encounter, and he had been having a hard time sending me emails. He would get a response stating that I didn't get the email, that my email didn't exist, and this and that. I finally got one. I emailed him back, and he actually had an encounter and was on Facebook. A park ranger or a game warden reached out to him. Well, I just put his emails all together on one piece of paper. I'm not sharing them yet, but I just saw that he emailed me earlier today. And I am going to connect with him because what this guy, just briefly what I've read on the emails that he sent, he has got one hell of a terrifying experience to share with us. And for the emails not to go through and then get that report saying my email doesn't exist, which I can see that report getting sent back to him, is real strange and kind of off-putting. So I'm looking forward to connecting with him. I just wanted to kind of share that because that's crazy. That is just absolutely terrifying. Let's jump into the books and then we'll end the upload. All right, so the first book I want to share with you guys is called Visitors from the Void. William Cooper, a great American hero. William Cooper's extreme book of flying saucers and skullduggery. And that's the Visitors from the Void. New Saucer and Press proudly presents Visitors from the Void, William Cooper's extreme book of flying saucer skullduggery. One of the last books edited by the iconic ufologist, publisher, and best-selling author Gray Barker, whose writing influenced plot lines of shows Star Trek, Futurama, X-Files, Twin Peaks, Outer Limits, Jetsons, Lost in Space, and Twilight Zone. Shuttling between his Manhattan publishing office and his secluded cabin deep in the hills of his home state, West Virginia, the prolific Baker single-handedly kept public interest focused on UFOs during the leanest years and introduced many themes still discussed and investigated by today's paranormal and conspiracy researchers: the Roswell, Men in Black, Ancient Aliens, Nazi UFOs, the Philadelphia Experiment, Flatwood Monster, Mothman, Majestic 12, MJ-12, Secret Underground Bases, Little Green Men, and Muir Island Incident. The Murray Island incident. Visitors from the Void and its sister book, Flying Saucer, Fire and Fury, Serpent of Fire, Saucers of Fury. Anyway, this is an updated version of that, which is guest curated by Bill Cooper. And it has so much. I was blown away. I could not put this down. So in true newsletter style, shed urgent, much-needed light on riddles such as UFO abductions, missing time, man-made saucers, alien babies, the hollow earth, government collusion, ETs, ESP, brainwashing, and surveillance. A list of correspondence chosen by Cooper for inclusion in this book reads like the who's who of UFOlogy. So I bought the book because the title and Bill Cooper. But if you've listened to any of the uploads that I've talked about lately, and I really do truly believe, and especially after the last experience that that guy shared, the young man shared with us in Mount Shasta, where he saw an angelic, and I'm only saying creature because I don't know if it was an angel or not, but it was chained or hung not by a cross, but in a cross position. And then the Nephilim in the next room over chained down. I really do believe that these alien reptilians and these grays are not aliens from outer space. They may be alien to our world, but I believe that these things are demonic 100%. They use portals. And people are like, well, what about the UFOs, Jeff? Well, in Montauk, in the Montauk chair at Camp Hero, a kid sitting there created a portal that opened up almost as large as the room, and a monster came out of it. So you don't think these things could create portals large enough for a saucer to come through and go to a different star system, go to a different dimension? The void. I really truly believe that these creatures are hell-spawned. I think the alien gray, think about the way people talk about the experimentation that's done. That doesn't sound like some kind of scientific study. That sounds like some just evil shit. You know, like people seeing a needle coming down into their eye, implants put in, strange things with body parts that only should be touched by your loved ones, like your wife or husband or mate, whatever. You know, like, dude, aliens are demons. I really, truly believe that 100%. And I really think that the missing 411 in these state parks and federal parks and national parks, whatever you want to call them, are a result of these creatures, these demonic creatures. And that's why we seldom get any kind of clues of where they might have went. Tom Mezek. Or the Christopher Tompkins case. The young surveyor, 20-year-old, freaking devout Christian, well-liked by his community, well-liked by anyone who knew him, mysteriously disappears 200 feet from coworker. The only thing they find is a boot, and then they find his other boot like 20 miles away or something like that. 22 years ago, January 25th is when he disappeared, Christopher Tompkins. Does that consider a missing 411 because it didn't happen in a national park? I do think so. I think so 100%. Because they've never found him. Well, where would he have gone to? because they did an extensive search. And if the coworkers that were with him, the other surveyors, did something, they would have found the body. They've never found his body yet. Very strange. All right. Now, I'm only sharing these books with you guys because, one, I think it's amazing to read. And I think we learn more from reading than, other things. And that's why I share, like, when I shared these skinwalkers at the Pentagon, one, it's completely amazing that Axelrod and his family were hunted by dogmen. And also the other book, one of my other favorite books, is Them and Us by Danny Van Drimeny, where he discusses the possibility of a Neanderthal-like creature that resembles a dogman, Bigfoot, werewolf, and it makes a lot of sense. But anyway, so first book I think you guys should check out, Visitors from the Void. Amazing book, amazing. Written by Gray Barker and Andrew Colvin. Basically Bill Cooper's book. He is a huge part of it. And then this next book, The Reptilian Alien Origins of the Human Species, Akhtar Palladian Light Warrior. Very interesting. And that is what it looks like. I'm not even going to go too deep into it because it's kind of hard to explain, but we take the time to examine an ancient cuneiform script tablets of Mesopotamia, along with too many to count additional ancient texts and documentation, most of which are thousands of years older than the Bible. We begin to see the obvious problem with what we've been told about our history. We see dragons as kings, serpents as wise sages, ancient atomic explosions, and war in outer space. In addition, we see ancient artifacts all stemming from the same source, the reptiles. Where did this all come from, and why has it been ignored and covered up by the powers that be? This book is documented extensively with evidence as old as it gets from ancient primary sources. So, very interesting book. Not as awesome as Visitors from the Void, but still amazing. And then this book, I have to say, right up there with The Void, Rise and Fall of the Nephilim by Scott Allen Roberts. Forward by Craig Hines, author of Gateway to the Gods. Carl Sagan once spoke of the need to balance the scientific method with pure, unadulterated wonder. Well, that's what this book does, and it is amazing. Truly amazing. If you guys get a chance to get this book, once again, The Rise and Fall of the Nephilim by Scott Allen Roberts, it blew me away. This should be, if anyone is interested in what we talk about on this channel or other channels of the same, this should be in your bookshelf. Just an amazing book, something great to just scan through. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel. It is your support that keeps the channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. That is because of all of you, so thank you. Stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.